Hello, I am Zhuang, an assistant professor from Xi'an Liverpool University. It's my pleasure today to present my research on the livability of Shanghai in the post-demolition era. I'll discuss urban identity, community pasts, and culture features through my study of Shanghai's Penghu settlements, exploring how the demolishing in Shanghai's urban renewal process has affected the residents of Penghu settlements, and what lessons can be drawn for future urban development. First, I'd like to provide some historical background on Penghu settlements and their demolition in Shanghai. Since their first appearance in the 1920s as shelters for newcomers from other provinces, Penghu settlements have become an important aspect of living culture in Shanghai, especially for those living at the bottom of society. In 1949, when the People's Republic of China was founded, all Penghu settlements were located on the periphery of downtown Shanghai, housing nearly a quarter of the city's population. However, with the urban development of Shanghai in the 1950s and 60s, the downtown area expanded, causing these settlements, originally on a periphery, to become part of downtown. Characterized by shanties and shacks, Penghu settlements normally housed multiple generations in cramped conditions, with an average living space of 2 to 4 square meters per person. Unlike Shikumen and Ling houses, which held more historical, culture, and political significance, Penghu settlements were always considered dirty, messy, and poor, posing significant challenges due to their dilapidated conditions and management issues, which ultimately led to their complete demolition during the process of urban development. Starting from the late 1980s, China's reform and opening up presented new opportunities for Shanghai's transformation into a modern city. Government initiated an urban development policy, merging construction of a new residential area with the reconstruction of old residential area in downtown. Before the 1970s and 80s, some Penghu settlements were demolished. At that time, the government invested significantly to carry out renovations and build houses near or at the original sites. So most residents at that time were able to stay in the same area. However, as it moved into the 1990s, demolition no longer merely meant improving the living environment in the original spot. In 1992, the 365 housing renovation tasks was launched, targeting the renovation of 3.65 million square meters of old downtown houses by the 21st centuries. This involved demolishing Penghu settlements, utilizing land leasing, real estate development, and municipal construction. With the country identifying real estate as a pillar industry and introducing new housing reform policies, Shanghai's housing prices began to enter a stage of rapid growth, and the cost of demolition in the downtown area began to increase. Due to maximizing differential land rent benefits, locations of resettled housing kept extending outward from near the original location to a bit outside downtown, then to the outer ring that's far away from downtown, and eventually to far-off suburbs. By the early 21st century, some scholars studied Penghu settlements slated for demolishing, and they found residents uneasy and anxious about relocating to undeveloped suburbs, as no one had ever lived so far away. By June 2022, after 30 years of demolition and renovation, Shanghai announced the completion of urban renewal in the downtown area. Today, Penghu settlements have disappeared, marking the end of large-scale demolitions in Shanghai. Shanghai now has entered the post-demolition era and showcases a metropolitan look to the entire world. As these settlements disappeared, their residents faded from media and research focus. What have they gone through, and what is their post-demolition life like? My study aims to delve into residents' new life in resettled neighborhoods, their initial adjustments to relocation, and changes in their life, and their experience during this transition. Unlike Shikumen and Lane houses, Penghu settlements have received very limited scholars' attention. Yet, understanding the dynamics of their forced disappearance would provide broader insights into the interrelation between belonging, urban history, social and economic forces, and planning initiatives in contemporary Chinese city. For my research, I conducted field work in 4 resettled neighborhoods, interviewing residents who relocated between 2014 and 2016 from Penghu settlements north of Suzhou Creek. North of Suzhou Creek was once the area with the most Penghu neighborhoods in Shanghai. These researched neighborhoods varied in distance from the city center, with the closest one near the Middle Ring about 10 kilometers away, and the furthest in Qingpu district around 40 kilometers from downtown. The interviews focused on residents' experience before and after demolishing, covering policies during demolishing, their housing choices, resettled feelings in new home, and life changes over the past 8 to 10 years. During field trips, I observed that resettled residents underwent complex emotional change during the demolishing. On one hand, they grappled with identity shifts, loss of downtown convenience, and loss of past neighborhood ties. On the other hand, the significant improvement in living conditions brought a high degree of satisfaction. Before starting the research, I assumed that people would resent being forced to leave downtown, fearing their close relationship will be cut off by modern buildings. However, the resettled residents surprisingly accepted and embraced their new life better than anticipated. And I found multiple factors contributing to their acceptance and embracement. First, identity change. The residents experienced a significant identity shifts due to the loss of their convenient downtown life. Before the demolishing, the locations of the resettled housing were suburbs and countrysides that these residents had never considered or visited. When they learned that these new buildings surrounded by farmland would be their new home, they felt lost. They lost the pride of being part of Shanghai, one of the most developed cities in China, feeling marginalized. The sentiment was most evident among those in the farthest neighborhood. In the first 2 years of resettlement, many would say going to Shanghai when they actually went downtown. To them, they left Shanghai in the first day of resettlement. However, as the suburbs evolved over time, these residents developed a new connection and a sense of identity with their new surroundings. Today, only a few would still refer to going downtown as going to Shanghai. And the second factor is the loss and rebuilding of neighborhood relationships. During demolishing and relocation, residents' interpersonal ties also changed. As the time cost of travel increased, their willingness to go downtown significantly decreased. Over time, their past social circle was dismantled, but reconstructed in a new community. In Qingpu district, where most residents are retired employees living apart from their children, the reliance on new neighbors for urgent assistance grew due to the distance. Over time, unfamiliar neighbors became good friends, fostering mutual reliance, which echoes with the Chinese saying, distant relatives are not as good as close neighbors. And the third factor contributing to the acceptance is the notable enhancement in living conditions. Residents gain a larger space, increasing from 2 to 4 square meters per person to 25 to 35 square meters per person, providing significantly more privacy to the residents. The previous challenge of multiple generations living in the same room is now a thing of the past, and children and parents finally have their own space. Furthermore, modern amenities are now accessible. In the past, carrying and emptying portable toilets used to be a hallmark of Ling life in Shanghai, and now is replaced by independent bathrooms with flush toilets and showers, marking a significant upgrade in daily life quality. However, while the relocation process had positive aspects, there remain issues to be resolved. Despite improvements mentioned above, the convenience of downtown life was lost. In the studied neighborhoods, living services and facilities failed to catch up with the pace of residential construction. In the first few years after settlement, residents' challenges in accessing groceries and medical care, with many basic needs going unmet. And to illustrate this, let's look at the neighborhood in Baoshan district. At the beginning of their settlements, a nearby subway line provided a 40-minute commute to the city center. However, there's no other nearby shops except one grocery store, which is 2 kilometers away. Over the last 2 years, with the population growth in the area, one hospital, one large supermarket, and numbers of restaurants gradually opened. However, the quality of medical care still falls short compared to downtown. In contrast, residents in Qingpu district, which is 40 kilometers from downtown, are less fortunate. Since their resettlement in 2016, the neighborhood is still surrounded by farmland and construction sites. Extremely limited nearby shopping options drives the prices up, generating significant dissatisfaction among residents. Alternative options include online shopping or traveling to other residential areas in closer towns for better prices and products. However, when it comes to going downtown, the principle is don't go unless necessary. Before a subway line was accessible to them in 2018, it took them nearly 3 hours to reach the city center. And even now, the farthest journey still exceeds 2 hours. Although driving is quicker, the cost is too high. Even faced with the current difficulties, residents remain hopeful for future convenience improvements. The results of my study deviated from my expectations. Relocated residents display less sadness and complaints about their new life. Instead, they showed more understanding and acceptance. Their attitude shifting from passive relocation and active acceptance reflects the millions of resettlement stories in the rapid urban development in China. Most of the resettled residents interviewed have witnessed China's rapid economic growth during the 40 years of reform and opening up. Simultaneously, influenced by marketization after the 1998 housing reform, they observed the real estate price soaring to the point of being unattainable. With no other choices, they accepted the government's arrangement to resettle in remote areas. Their relocation signifies the continuous expansion of Shanghai urban boundaries and represents another transformation of Shanghai's urban landscape. And only when the development gap between suburban areas and downtown is gradually narrowed can the sense of identity gap for relocated residents be gradually eliminated. Since 2014, Shanghai has been at the forefront of promoting the concept of a 15-minute community living circle, where residents can access their daily needs within a 15-minute walk. Despite the establishment of over 1,000 such living circles since 2022 and the inclusion of all 4 neighborhoods I studied within these circles in 2023, services and facilities in these neighborhoods are considerably less developed compared to the areas with denser populations. And this disparity remains to be a significant challenge for many settled residents. Urban livability has emerged as a multidimensional concept, reflecting the overall quality of life in an urban environment. In 2024, a joint research project done by 3 universities examined the livability of Shanghai from the perspective of the availability and accessibility of various amenities and services, such as education, entertainment, transportation, health, and living services. The study found that access to essential amenities such as education and healthcare is very limited in suburban areas and remote areas, which align with my study findings. In resettled neighborhoods with a higher proportion of elderly residents, medical service should be prioritized within supporting facilities. Meanwhile, transportation, entertainment, and education play important roles in attracting young residents and maintaining community vitality. To ensure settled residents receive better living services and participate in urban development dividends alongside downtown residents, urban designers and policymakers can further explore medical services, public transportations, and culture and entertainment facilities. For medical services, we should prioritize deploying AEDs, CPR training, and enhancing public health emergency response to ensure timely and high-quality healthcare. For public transportations, we should improve support for subway plus cycling or bus plus cycling transportation methods, enhancing travel efficiency and sustainability. Additionally, we should increase shared bicycle and electric bike deployment in resettled neighborhoods which is distant from bus or subway stations. And for culture and entertainment facilities, we should develop public activity centers to boost community vitality. By providing spaces for social engagement, resettled residents can form closer bonds with one another and with the community as well, contributing to a more fulfilling life. Urban development should always prioritize people's needs. Only by respecting its citizens can a city expect reciprocal respect from its residents. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for your listening. Bye-bye.